Hey y'all. I actually just wanted to talk about some stuff today, so I figured I'd just record Termac roll, um, while I do it. Okay, so, in my school, which I graduated from, they had two anti-suicide and anti-depression, programs, which was basically just giving a speech. And I distinctly remember one of them the first one that we received was about how anyone can be depressed and commit suicide. And the example they chose to use was a really pretty Christian girl who was doing well in school, had a really loving family, everything about her was going great, and they chose to really emphasize how everything was perfect for her, and she still committed suicide. And I thought maybe they'd show us one or two videos, like not just one. Two or three videos about different people in different situations just to drive the point home about how anyone can commit suicide. But no, they showed us this one perfect girl, and that was it. No one else. And it kind of pissed me off because I've noticed that in pretty much every campaign about suicide, depression, whatever, every single campaign they've always chose to use some really a person who's got it really good in life, and they never really show an emo kid, a kid with an alternative garb, whatever the hell, or a kid in a bad home. They never choose to show those people. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe there are programs that show that, but I don't know, it's just I've seen this a lot, and it kind of gets to me because it's sort of shit. I had it all planned out. I had the shit planned about how I was going to talk to it, but it pisses me off because there seems to be this overriding assumption that, well, of course those those goth kids are going to commit suicide. Like, if it happens, if it doesn't happen, whatever. But if it does happen, also kind of whatever. Like, it's sad and all, but it was obviously going to happen eventually, or it's no one's really surprised. If there's a beautiful girl, or someone who's got a really good life ahead of her, that was actually a pretty good one, then everyone will flock to concern and try and fix her life. They'll make sure she gets the proper help, etc., etc. But if it's a person in goth threatening suicide, someone who's maybe not that well liked, not doing that well in school, or whatever, then everyone will just go, ugh. And, or will either disregard, not acknowledge, or downright bully and humiliate them over this fact. And it really pisses me off because, yes, they may be faking it to fit in with their definition of cool. Maybe they might be being over dramatic. But why the fuck would you ever take that risk with someone who you care about? Why the fuck would you ever take that risk with anyone? What if that one day they're not joking and they really need help? I think anyone who does discuss committing suicide, regardless, is unwell. Even if they're not going to directly commit suicide, something's gone wrong in their life that's made them feel that they need to say this and behave in that way. Maybe it's just them feeling out new identities, feeling out how they want to interact with the world, and that they're not and that they don't genuinely want to kill themselves. But maybe it's because they've watched a certain genre of movie. But you should still probably look into why this is a problem. You should talk to these kids and try and help them. And I don't see why anyone would ever choose to shame someone for suicidal ideation. Because they discuss suicide or depression, or claim to have it. Like, I don't see what you could possibly gain out of humiliating or being awful to them. I know at one point I'd actually fallen out of a tree. I was a bit into the emo phase, but not very good at it. I listened to emo music and so on. This was at my old school, and I distinctly remember one day I'd been climbing a tree and I fell out and got scratches all over myself. You know, harmless accident, no biggie. And I was in a cooking class and we were working with some lemons, so naturally I got some of the lemons into my cuts and I went, oh fuck, and it was awful, and I went, oh shit, and complained about it. And a person who I considered at the time to be a friend proceeded to tell me, serves you right, you fucking emo. He thought I'd self-harmed and that I was complaining because that remains one of the most key points of me hating that guy's guts. You fucking know who you are. It's one of my main points of absolutely hating that guy. Like, regardless of no matter how I got those cuts, being that much of an asshole about it and assuming that, if you assume I got those cuts from self-harm, why the fuck would you be so unkind? I'm not going to emphasize the fact that I received them completely differently. Well, I'm pissed off because even if I did receive those cuts from self-harm, that does not give him the right to fucking tell me that I deserve that pain. All of my anger towards that individual. Humiliating or being unkind or saying nasty things to people who are self-harming or threatening to self-harm or threatening suicide isn't going to make them better. It never has. It will probably make them worse. You're more like, I don't see what goes on in someone's mind that they go, oh shit, this person is threatening to kill themselves. Because they feel that they are, because one of the main reasons that people threaten or try to kill themselves is because they fucking don't feel like they are loved and that they are wanted. So what do people do when someone tells them that they want to kill themselves? Fucking say horrible things to them and make them feel worse. As though this is going to somehow cure them. As though a sharp talking to will fix them. It's never going to fix them. It's never going to make them better. This is never going to be a situation. Or worse still, when they feel like bullying them will somehow improve their situation, snap them out of it. That's never going to be true. It's never going... And on top of which, if it is some kid who is just trying to fit in with a group of people who do romanticize suicide, then bullying them will just make them feel as though it's justified and could actually push them into a position where they are genuinely about it. There's no way it's going to make things better. There's no way it's going to help. It's not going to make anything better for them. It's not helping anyone. And if they kill themselves, you're going to be in a position where you know that you contributed to that. If they harm themselves, you're going to know that you contributed to yourself to that. Why would you want to do that? And on top of which, I'm not sure about the laws surrounding this, but apparently, if someone kills themselves and you're part of the problem that pushed them to that, you're going to get into shit as well. And not just, apparently there's some kind of law shit, I think it varies from place to place, but there's no way in which this is going to be a good thing for you, because you're still, at the end of the day, you're still a piece of shit who bullied a kid because they were having a bad time in life, or behaved as though they were. I see no way in which this is beneficial to anyone, and all it's ever going to do is make it worse. It'll either not have no effect, or make things worse. So why do it? I also dislike the way that people in authoritative places, who are meant to be authorities on this position, like putting the normal kids and disregarding kids who might, they'll point out, oh, this kid has a good home life, this person has, everything to live for, but will disregard kids who have nothing to live for. Kids who, because it's assumed, we don't want to hear about if we point out that this kid had everything, then it'll just make us feel like, it'll make anyone who's suicidal feel worse. What right do you have to life, since if this amazing, strong person couldn't hack it? What right do you have to go to someone and request help? It doesn't. I understand when people who any suicide is tragic, whether it's that emo kid who always fucking wrote poetry and read about dead people, whether it's that kid who's having shit at home and has had a really shit home life, whether it's the ace kid, that perfect kid who, was fucking in the choir and getting all A's. No matter who, whether it's a lesbian or a gay kid who was severely bullied, every death is a tragedy. Why are you only treating it as though only the people who have everything to live for are worth it? I don't know, maybe I'm looking too far into this, but it just has always been something that really sincerely bothers me. Since I've got about 4 minutes left, and that's about the time I can probably talk about it, there was also this thing which was called an Are You OK Day, and I kind of resented it because there are all these kids who are always happy and pretty good-tempered and, liked a good joke, and these were some of these same kids actually gave me a lot of shit in that school, and yet they were the ones who were like, hey Sam, are you okay? And it's like, no, I'm not fucking okay. Those days were the days that I wanted to hang myself. Those were the days that I was still self-harming. Those were the days when I honestly woke up and thought I'd rather be dead. No, I'm not okay, but like, fuck, I'm gonna tell you about it. Why the I don't like you, I don't know you, and I doubt you'd be sympathetic, so why would I tell you that? I honestly think that, if anything, I'd really love to see that day change to an honest answer day, because where if someone asks if you're okay, you have to give them an honest answer. That should be the rule of the day, that you have to answer them honestly whether or not you're okay, because that will mean a fuck ton more than 100 empty Are You Okays. I don't know, maybe I'm just a bitter bitch about this whole thing and just wants everything to go right, but I don't know. Are you okay always seemed like a really empty statement on that day. Some days that if someone asked me that, I would genuinely cry, but never on that day, because Are you okay is a question. I don't know. Words. Are you okay is usually one of the most caring statements that someone can give you. It means that someone took time out of their day to realize that you're not to genuinely want to ask if you're okay. Are you okay day just cheapened that down, because everyone was jokingly asking each other, asking their friends, are you okay? Yes. It was like some kind of football chant, what team Wildcats. It felt like that. Like, no one was realistically going to answer to anyone whether or not they were okay. On a different day, sure, but on that day, it was the most worthless statement. And no one said it the next day, or any other day. No one took their time. It wasn't something that was drilled into their head to make them go, shit, maybe I should ask if that person's okay. Instead, it was just a fun little thing to do on that day. Yo, are you okay? And I don't think any of them would have been particularly sympathetic if I'd said no, or if anyone had said no. You were expected to say yes, and that you were okay. It was never a thing of a genuine statement, or a genuine question. It was just a fun little thing to say, are you okay? When no one really is in that situation. So yeah, that's my two major grudges against the depression programs that they ran at my school. They were just really shit, I think. Also, it was really hard to sympathize with the perfect girl who committed suicide, because, like, it was a real story, and I actually found it kind of hard to sympathize, because she specifically said in her diary, I know what's wrong with me, I know that I have depression, and I know that these thoughts are getting really bad, but I think God wants me to fight it, so I'm not going to seek professional help. Anyway, I'm about to run out of time, so goodbye, and really, if you're not okay, say so.